Hello everyone. I'm recording this on a day that has been quite rainy, but as I record, the sun has just come out, which is fitting, as you'll see when I read the reading in a moment. Today I am delighted to bring you a somewhat light-hearted reflection on a passage from Song of Songs, which is one of my favourite and one of the strangest, I think, books in the Bible, for good reasons. And as I have indicated in your orders of service or liturgy frameworks, in this reflection, I do make reference to sex quite a bit. So get ready. If you're not ready for that, perhaps you want to stop now. But I do think it's important to be able to talk about these things. So let's get into it. Song of Songs. The voice of my beloved. Look, he comes, leaping upon the mountains, bounding over the hills. My beloved is like a gazelle or a young stag. Look, there he stands behind our wall, gazing in at the windows, looking through the lattice. My beloved speaks and says to me, "Arise, my love, my fair one, and come away. For now the winter is past, the rain is over and gone. The flowers appear on the earth, the time of singing has come. The voice of the turtle dove is heard in our land. The fig tree puts forth its figs, and the vines are in blossom, and they give forth fragrance. Arise, my love, my fair one, and come away." I don't know about you, but I've never known anyone who reminded me of a gazelle, particularly, or a young stag, or anyone who could take hills and mountains in a single bound. Not even people I had a huge crush on. When I was growing up, the words of Song of Songs were to me and to many of my friends, and I think if you're honest, to many of you, a silly, strange, funny, and sort of naughty book found inexplicably in the middle of my Bible. As I got older, it was a bit less funny, and mainly I was left with the question of why it was there at all. And indeed, the inclusion of the Song of Songs, sometimes known as the Song of Solomon, the inclusion of it in the canon of the Bible has confused many over its history. Why, in a book of story and of law, of sacred texts that reveal the nature of God, does there appear a book that not only doesn't feature the name of God, but seems for all intents and purposes to be a bit of silly poetry about a couple in love? Why does it fit there? And not just a couple in love, a couple in mad, passionate, and very physical love. This short book is made up of a series of songs or poems seemingly uttered by a couple very much in love. Did you hear her adoring him as he simply gazed out a window? A couple in love longing to be together while separated by cruel fate, and at times narrated by choruses of their friends. It doesn't contain a clear narrative. It doesn't tell a story of redemption or faith. Instead, it offers page after page of poetry, of effusive, passionate, evocative words about love. And it's human love. It's physical, embodied love. The lovers, we read, adore each other wholly. They praise the other's body at length, uttering line after line about the beauty of their love, how they long to be looking at each other all the time. It's a love song, and it's sung in tune with the very world around them. The winter, we hear, has made space for them. The flowers announce their joy. Trees are blossoming and birds are singing. The fertile and bountiful earth itself is joining with them in the celebration of their love. In this book, their needs and wants are as one with nature. They are joined in what is right and natural. So how and why do we read this book? As I said, it's one of two in the Bible where the name of God doesn't even appear. But like Esther, the other such book, though God may not be named, I think it's safe to say that God is everywhere present. I say this because the book itself seems fragrant with holiness. It is steeped in holy joy and holy beauty. We read this book and understand that the holiness of love and also of sex, the joys of the physical, the beauty of a lover as seen through the eyes of their beloved. This book is a joyful ode to humans who openly desire one another and who celebrate the other. Now, this historically hasn't made the church particularly comfortable. I don't know if you've noticed, but the Christian church is not one which has ever been cool with sex, or talk about sex, or the act of sex, or the idea that maybe somewhere sex is going on. In fact, human sexuality has been frequently understood as at least taboo and not to be spoken of, or at worst, sinful in all its forms. And much damage, both told and untold, has been done over centuries by the people who first decided that this, the physical act of love between two people, is unseemly and wrong. Some people, when trying to maintain a position of complete infallibility of the biblical text, while also trying to understand how such a book can hold a position within it, attempt to explain that the two lovers in Song of Songs are obviously married, and therefore it's all above board. This, as well as being quite a stretch to read into the text, is missing the point. Others suggest that this is an allegory for God's love for Israel, or even Christ and Christ's bride, the church. And so again, it's all above board. Though I don't know how that would explain away the part about breasts like gazelles. This too, as well as not being borne out by the text in any way, is missing the point. The point here, I think, is not to explicitly gesture to God's relationship with God's people. And the point is not to show young, lustful couples what can happen if you wait for marriage. Nor is it to prove that marriage is not necessary for good sex. The marital status of the two key characters is unknown because it's besides the point. This is simply about love. As you are no doubt aware, the Bible has a fair bit to say about love. About the way you throw yourself into love, about loving others the way that Jesus does, about selfless love, brotherly love, servant love, enduring friend love, and of course the love of God. And so I think it's fitting that there is this book to remind us that love between two people, two partners, intimate, romantic love, is as important, as necessary as all those other types. And this lovely, romantic, poetic little book is also about the beauty of love when offered to another, seemingly at the exclusion of all others. It's not a moralizing book. We know nothing really about the lovers except that they are totally digging each other. But this love is strengthened by their decision to love one another. Set me as a seal upon your heart, for love is stronger than death, it says. My love for you will guard your very heart. It's not a poem about the thrill of a fling or the joys of sex outside of marriage, though again I refuse to read it as a moralizing against that. It is an ode to fidelity of a kind, and the passion and the joy and the harmony, and dare I say the fun that can go with choosing that other person. Now, there is much that I don't know about love of all kinds. I'm happy to admit that. What I do know, and what I think is hinted at within our reading today, is that love is both fun and forceful, everyday and heroic, incremental and all-consuming. And that love, when given freely, fully and joyfully to another in this way, it makes us better. And it is a way of connecting us to our Creator. It brings us out of ourselves to feel the world around us in a way that we wouldn't have without. The lovers in our reading are celebrating the world around them, vital and alive and unashamed. And though God is not mentioned, this connection, the resounding call of nature to them, is a way of the lovers finding themselves aligned with all that is right in the universe. Through their celebration of the other, their commitment to the other, their choice to pursue that other in whom they see the beauty of the world, they show a form of discipleship, as much as I hesitate to throw that rather dry-sounding word in here. It is getting so bright in this room. Ooh. Our lives with Jesus are about commitment, yes, and about the choices we make, many of them difficult, to try and walk in the path of Jesus day by day. But just as the church has in the past somewhat muddied and complicated the waters of marriage and relationships by defining them as what stops us doing things or as something to keep us in line and subscribe to a strict regimen of right living out of trouble, I think we can sometimes view our lives themselves, our walks with Jesus, as a careful, somewhat joyless tightrope walk along the edge of rightness, strict and controlled and trying so hard not to fall into unholiness or, heaven forbid, immoral behaviour. This reading today gives us a chance to remember that our walk with Christ is a joy and a gift and offers to us not just the chance to learn and be disciplined where we need to, but a chance to delight in and find God in the things small and large which are a part of our lives here, including sex, including being smitten with someone enough to admire them simply looking out a window, including going to weddings and drinking wine as Jesus did, including dozens of things we each do every day. Now, a note to those of us who aren't married or who perhaps were married, who aren't partnered currently, or to those who have lost their partner, there is joy here for us all too. In this celebratory song, yes, love between two people is placed center stage, and I do think that's a beautiful thing. But this celebration is a calling to all of us to embrace the joyful parts of our lives, to relish the glimpses of the holy we find all around us, either with or without a partner who may or may not appear to us as a glorious wild beast bounding around the hills. Far from being a ridiculous, slightly titillating inclusion in the canon, this book is a gorgeous ode to a truly beautiful and truly human thing. Further to this, it's one of the only books that give a voice to a woman, and not only a voice to her, but her point of view holds the majority of the text, and her desire is given room and time to be heard. Her agency is validated. Her passion for her beloved is seen as beautiful and important. And that's another reason why this is one of my favourite books. This poem is a challenge to all of us to adore one another, to relish our physicality, to remember passion, and to remember the divine nature of our humanity as it plays out in our day-to-day, and in our choosing to love one another again and again and again. Song of Songs is a testament to the rightness of this, the beauty of desire born out in God's good creation and in the physical expression of two lovers. It challenges us to remember that this love, this joining of two beloveds, is God-willed, God-blessed, life-giving, strong and unquenchable. The winter is past. The rain is over and done. The flowers appear on the earth. The time of singing has come. Arise, my love, my fair one, and come away. Amen.